We're not trying to do DLCs anymore. We're not trying to introduce a brand new campaign. Instead, what we want to do is deliver 3 full seasons of content that can last for an entire year.
We're changing because of the player feedback. Players want to be able to experience the game, not just in day one feast mode. They want that buffet to last throughout the year and give them reasons to keep coming back.
Seasons are really about having content that is available for all players. But Annual Pass is about having this additional layer of premium content on top of that.
The bow is from the Fringe family. It's beautiful. It feels a little thorny in the way it plays.
Yeah.
If you like Thorn from Destiny 1, you're gonna love this bow.
In Black Armory, it's about new weapons, new activities, and doing all the pursuits to get more powerful to go into the raid.
Let's talk about a underused, under the radar exotic weapon that some people probably have never heard before, nor have ever seen in PvP, called the Monarque. Let's talk about that bow for a minute, shall we? What are the weapons team's thoughts on the Monarque's current viability in PvP? Do y'all think it's not spicy? Too spicy?
It feels a little weak. We've got a buff coming for it in season 22 to just allow it to one-shot, natively all the time. No, it's
Initially, I was working on this video to bring arguments to why the Monarque should be nerfed, but Bungie finally realized it was a necessity. They went ahead and announced in the DCP Live podcast that they will in fact change its damage profile, among other things. In this video, we will discuss why this needed to happen for those who are devastated by these news, predictions for the future, and what are your options next season. Let's first see everything that will change.
in all seriousness, we do believe that Lemon's time is fast approaching.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got a change checked in for it right now that we feel pretty good about, actually. It moves the damage and the draw time profile to match, or not to match exactly, but to be closer to that of a lightweight bow. The draw time is going to be a little bit faster, but the damage is going to come down, pretty substantially to match what lightweights do currently. And then we're also going to reduce the duration of the burn that it applies to players. Right now, it's a 3-second burn, and we're looking at reducing that down to about 1.5 seconds.
The poison changes aren't exactly clear enough to discuss, but someone from our server made some detective work in order to predict whether the Monarque will still be able to double body in PvP, which, in my opinion, would turn this nerf into an overall buff. This person says, assuming they will tone the Monarque's poison damage to still do the same overall damage in PvE, they would need to approximately double the damage of each poison tick. So while they might reduce the poison duration overall, it is still a question whether or not this change will apply to PvP as well. For the purpose of the video, I will assume this is going to happen, and I find it very likely because of some insider rumors.
If it does, then the Monarque will effectively still be able to double body, still be used as a quick swapping tool with a 120.
Okay, but why did it get nerfed in the first place? Why is this so important? The TLDR is that the Monarque has been overpowering all bows, including other primary and special weapons, while, this is very important, while regular bows don't do that. The fundamentally broken thing about the Monarque is the combination of high damage along with lingering damage ticks over time. For example, it's not a problem on Thorn because Thorn is a hand cannon and needs 3 shots to kill, and even when you proc the enhanced poison, it only lets you 2-crit one body, and it does not 2-crit it to kill unless you're under tier 6 resilience. However, similar to the Monarque, burn damage is a problem on Ahamkara strip mine, where you will legitimately become one-shot due to the burn and massive amounts of initial damage. It's funny to me because Ahamkaras have become the Monarque on steroids in grenade form, and this is why people hate Ahamkara strip mines so much, because they are reminded of the Monarque.
Another one?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The Monarque and what it used to be was straight up not a bow. It's the highest dealing damage per shot primary in the game in PvP. First of all, it is important to note that the Monarque has forged the reputation of an entire weapon archetype. When people see a bow, even if it's the worst role in the game for PvP, and is in no way optimal for PvP. People still tend to diss on it because of Le Monarque. It has been the only bow people tend to go to if they want to pick up bows. The counter bows and other bow users, opponents will without fail equip or swap to Le Monarque during a match. Le Monarque has been used since Forsaken, 17 seasons, in which it's always been one of the most used bows in PvP. And while it is true that usage rates does not mean a weapon is OP, I want you to consider something. Let's take into account a horrifying thought when we look at some data. Le Monarque does not secure kills. It is used to prime targets to kill with another weapon. It's not like a pulse rifle, or an SMG, or a hand cannon, or a sniper, etc. It doesn't usually kill in one shot either. Bungie knows this and analyzes the data Le Monarque produces accordingly. According to this TWAB, at some point Le Monarque was the top 5 weapon in total kills in Trials. And the very day the Immortal was introduced in Trials, a close range weapon that destroyed the PvP meta and still dominates the Crucible to this day. Well, that very day, Le Monarque was the 8th for number of eliminations, and generally manages to reach top 10 every other week in Trials. Recently this hasn't been the case, because people have already heard that Le Monarque is getting nerfed, so they're trying to move away from it, thank God. Considering the fact that this bow is used to prime targets to die to something else, it is entirely fair to assume that its real hidden oppressive nature is more significant than what we can see. Trials report shows eliminations with the weapon, not usage rate. It does not show how many people it tagged previously before killing with another weapon or giving your teammates the opportunity to do so. I think this is a problem when people try to interpret the Trials report data for this weapon. Yes, it would help if its handling stat were to go down significantly, but believe it or not, quick swapping is still not the main issue with Le Monarque. You might think, but I use Le Monarque with a shotgun. It's not scummy, right? Well, using Le Monarque with a special weapon doesn't solve the Le Monarque issue. So why is Le Monarque so scummy?
Things we've been playtesting it a good bit and doing less chunk damage up front, and having the DOT burn off faster has made a pretty significant improvement in how it feels to play against Le Monarque without necessarily.
Let's look at this clip. In this clip we have a regular bow going up against Le Monarque. The problem is that it gives more time to the opponent to recover while I'm still waiting for the burn damage to pass so I can repeat and fight. This will still happen next season for 1.5 seconds. Yes, however, a regular bow still doesn't apply burn damage, which means Le Monarque is still, theoretically, the better dueling bow for peak shooting. Here's an eye-opening list of things that Le Monarque can do as opposed to other bows. It can deal more damage on body and headshot thanks to poison ticks, currently totaling 119 per body and 169 per headshot, which is absolutely insane. This gives Le Monarque the ability to one-shot, depending on resilience below tier 7, with a damage buff of 15% or more. Poison damage lingers and lasts for a long time when we're talking PvP seconds. This delays your recovery stat. Usually, players run with 100 recovery in PvP. 100 recovery means you regenerate your full health in 6 seconds. Le Monarque will effectively turn your recovery stat down to tier 7, turning down your recovery speed to 7.5 seconds. If you want to simulate that, you can just straight up run tier 7 in PvP and see how it feels. It's not really ideal for competitive situations. But moving on, damage counts as an overload debuff, turning your ability regeneration up twice the usual speed. The poison burn allows you to effectively track people through walls to predict their next move. Lingering poison damage flinches your screen every time it ticks, making it harder to shoot back. It applies an on-screen animation which hinders visibility. Catalyst gives it 70 reload, making it reach the 80 reload cap easier and decreasing its own time to kill down from 1.4 seconds to 1.2. And next season, that number will be even lower. And to top it all off, for some reason, it steals the spotlight of lightweight bow's intrinsic value, the mobility trait. It has the intrinsic lightweight frame benefits, giving you the ability to spec 20 of your armor stats into something else. All of these factors make present Le Monarque overpower the entire legendary frame bow archetype lineup, including lightweight frames and precision frames. The lightweight frame exotic counterpart, which is arguably Wishender, despite having wall hacks, is nowhere near the same level of ease of use and strength as Le Monarque. Well, used to be worse. Until we got news that lightweights are getting buffed. Despite this, there's really no reason to use either of these archetypes over Le Monarque in PvP, other than wanting to use an exotic heavy or kinetic weapon, which is more likely to happen now because we have conditional finality. People don't swap to a legendary bow, they swap to Le Monarque. This isn't necessarily a problem, but it's simply not fun. It is heartbreaking to remember that rather than Le Monarque receiving a substantial change and re-examination of its place in the sandbox a few seasons ago, all bows suffered from Le Monarque's reign in PvP. When recently bows across the board, including lightweights, have received a stowing nerf to prevent or discourage quick swapping from Le Monarque to another hand cannon or weapon. In my opinion, this was highly unwarranted, especially for lightweights who are supposed to be agile intrinsically. And it didn't even solve the issues Le Monarque by itself was causing. People will continue to quick swap, and all that did was make it harder to use a regular bow with a shotgun. Don't get me wrong, exotics are supposed to be better than their legendary counterparts, but they're not supposed to overpower them. Le Monarque was better not in just all bows in general, but Monarque alone can also be a better choice than a majority of special weapons, such as snipers, grenade launchers, glaives, and can even fulfill the role of a shotgun. And Le Monarque does a better job at that because of the burn damage. I honestly started considering that they should make Le Monarque a special ammo weapon. Now even the damage is high, just let it be higher. It would even be fair to even up the damage back to 175 and 125 like it was previously. Maybe even give it 8 or 6 shots to start with. It would have been great to even nerf the damage ticks from poison to damage without killing, like it happens now with Polaris Lance. When Le Monarque first released, I always thought it had an interesting identity in PvP, because you would be able to spread poison around players and then one-shot everyone else that was low enough because of the poison damage. Of course, this wouldn't come up against everyone, because not everyone would sit bunched up together without shooting back to take the poison at full force, but at least this functionality was there. It's likely that next season, this will not be possible anymore without a damage buff. Assuming Le Monarque was still double body, it will remain to be one of the best bows in the game bar none. At the moment, the best bow loadout you can use is Oathkeepers on Hunter. Some of you don't know, but Oathkeepers does reduce a masterwork worth of draw time. And I personally wished it would instead give Peacekeepers benefits to bows instead of infinite hold and draw time reduction, but moving on. Here's some loadout suggestions. Le Monarque will still work against all resiliences to quick swap into a 120 hand cannon body shot, since it'll still deal 150 to the head in total, so you can still run that. Just remember to make sure that you are applying the poison damage to deal full damage. And if you can't do that, then next season you'll have the option to run Wishender. It will feel much better. Wishender has the potential to dethrone Le Monarque. Oh boy. Currently, look for handling boosting perks such as Surplus, Steady Hands, Elemental Capacitor for Arc, Slick Draw, or go to Warlock Ophidians to improve any already existing 120 you have if these mentioned options aren't available to you. For Hunter, I recommend to try out Dragon Shadow on Invis. Why Dragon Shadow and not the new handling exotics? Because it encourages you to feed yourself with Reaper. Spec for rapid dodge recovery with perks like Kickstart, class ability regen mods. You will have a lot of fun with the Devour Fragment, since you can get a kill and recover for every gunfight every time, and feed into your Devour. Best thing about this is you will proc Reaper before nearly every important engagement to crouch on the handling and swap speed from Dragon Shadow. Another loadout that will become much stronger and will in fact be the strongest option in my opinion is Le Monarque into Shotgun. Le Monarque at 612 draw time paired with Oathkeepers will turn it into a 576 millisecond bow, effectively make it a normal precision frame with fast base draw time. And it doesn't end there. Consider what Bungie said they're going to do to bow reload next season. Currently, bow reload is capped at around the 80 stat mark, or precisely 600 milliseconds in real time. The time to kill on Le Monarque right now is 1.2 with max reload and Oathkeepers. Currently, for all bows, going farther than 80 or going for 100 reload, even if you introduce a scaler from Dragon's Shadow or armor reloaders, reload and time to kill will not be reduced. In general, bows' time to kill at base is around 1.1 seconds, and precision frames can double body. By comparison, DMT is a scout rifle that can 2-crit one body in 1 second time to kill. However, next season reload will be faster, assuming it will be uncapped, or whether reload scalers would help it reach beyond the cap and help them go anywhere faster than 1.1 seconds at base and reach DMT time to kill territory. The entire weapon sandbox and meta might be... No kidding. If you thought bows are annoying now, oh boy, you're in for a treat. Le Monarque is very much not dead, and never will unless Bungie makes a drastic change, such as turning it into a special weapon or killing its double body capabilities, which I find very unlikely. Make no mistake, even if bows are receiving a range fall off next season, everything else for bows is effectively a buff. There is an argument to be made that bows themselves need revisiting, but that's a subject for another video. And for short, if you think a bow double bodying in 1.1 seconds is broken, I want you to think about Hush, which kills in 1.4 seconds if you miss a headshot, or 0.85 seconds if you hit a headshot. Personally, I wished all bows worked like Hush intrinsically. Hush is perfectly balanced. It's a slow, sluggish weapon with a high risk, high reward mechanic that makes it all the more viable and usable if you hit your shots accurately. I wished all bows worked like that. Still, there are many brilliant legendary bows to be used, and we will soon have more reasons to use them. The problem so far was simply that the Monarque was stealing the spotlight.
Kind of funny, because every time I put on a bow that is not the Monarque, I feel like the bow is just bad. I'm just saying. It's just like lightweight bows feel really not accurate. You know what I mean? They just feel like you're not landing your arrows. They just don't feel good.
This goes without saying, but please be respectful of other people in the way they choose to have fun in the game. After all, the purpose of a video game is to have fun. If it's not fun, why bother?